Okay guys, in this very quick video then we're going to talk about functional alcoholism, or how I was as a fast jet pilot, a fighter pilot in the Royal Air Force for 20 years. And I've had some emails come in and I want to just go through them. I answer all emails where best I can. However, the emails of I'm a 16-year-old looking to be a pilot in the Air Force, I've kind of done that now. I'm not answering that anymore, but what I am answering now is I'm a functional alcoholic. How do I sort this out, Tim? And that's cool. So I've got a couple of emails I thought I'd just go through real quick, guys. I'll keep it short. First one then from an ex-RF regiment dude. He says, "Hi Tim, I think your YouTube channel is great and that I'm pleased that you're addressing the alcohol problem. I'm a functioning alcoholic. I know my problem and I've had this from early on due to the perception that it was everyone else's problem. I now know that it's a physical or emotional issue. I'm ex-RF regiment and would love to chat." He gives me his number here. I had an abusive father that led me through a path through schooling in the RF, but ended up securing a better life. Yeah, and it's a good dude, right? So that's not the email I really want to answer with you right now. There's another email coming from an instructor, a flying instructor I really want to talk to you about. But as for this guy, you know, I can't talk one-on-one anymore, and I won't be doing that. I'll write back to him, I'll send him a link to this one. But one of the things I really want to just cover for like 10 seconds is the importance of your background and how your history will be reflecting on you now. I'm sure you realize that, but it is there. Whether you think it's not or not, it is. So my father was alcoholic, my mother was alcoholic, although she gave up, and it was a little bit different to that. And there's problems with alcohol in the family, an extended family as well. So I guess, although I never thought it was gonna impact me, and I don't really like talking about it, but I do think it's important that we kind of just have this conversation, especially as men. I guess I was always gonna walk into that life. And in the Air Force, the Navy, 98, I flew till I was 20, in 2018, 20 years. We were wrapped up in alcohol, debriefs, dinner nights, bar nights. It was great, I loved it, but I carried it on when I left, and I haven't drunk anything now for 15 months. The other thing I don't call myself, guys, is alcoholic. I think that term is a very loaded term that really stops people from stopping drinking. I said I was dependent on alcohol. You drink enough of it, of course you're going to become dependent. And also I do think there's maybe a gene or something that we have within our livers and everything that allows us to process alcohol a lot quicker, us people that have problems with alcohol, than say other people. And that means we drink more, therefore we're drinking more, we become more addicted to it faster than other people. I think we're just a bit different. I'm in my gym now. This is a primal bar here. We've got ski erg over there and some weights down here. And I do think it's important that when you do think about moving on from alcohol, you look to substitute something else. I'm not talking chocolate or sugar or Coke or anything like that. That's really bad. There's a reason that people go into things like fitness, sports, triathlons, anything like that. I just lift. I like the weights. I just lift. I do rowing, you know, that kind of stuff. But I'm not big into like competition or anything like that. I'm 50 this year. I'm just not into it. It's not me. But I do like getting in the gym with some podcasts. I'm not a music guy, but some podcasts, some audiobooks. I'm racking up the bar here and just feeling that mind-muscle connection is what I like. And the only reason I'm not going to speak to the RF guy here, the regiment guy, is because I used to speak to a lot of people. And what people don't realize is that when you talk to someone about the problems you have, is you offload onto that person. And I was getting weighed down with other people's issues to an extent where I couldn't really function myself. I'd be very careful the language you use on yourself. If you say, I'm an alcoholic, I can't do anything about it, that will stop you. That will stop you stopping. It's raining outside, guys, else we'd be outside, but it's really heavy downpour. And as I said, I'm in my garage. Right, so the other email I really want to talk to you about is this one that comes in. And I'm going to say that this guy is he's a flying instructor, all right? It doesn't tell me what he's flying. It could be rotary, it could be multi-engine, it could be fast jet, but he's a flying instructor. And I'm just going to say he's either in the Royal Australian, the United States Navy, the United States Air Force, or the Royal Canadian Air Force. Just getting a tea, guys. And the reason I say that is because, although he says, you know, please don't use my name or anything, I wouldn't ever use a name, but I think it's important not to tell people not to tell you guys where people are, because there is repercussions. There will be repercussions on these people. And it's dealt with really badly by the authorities. Even though arguably the authorities and the environment that this guy finds himself in are largely responsible for his behaviors, which of course is an alcohol dependency. He says, Tim, I'm really inspired by your quitting alcohol journey. I'm a QFI in one of these air forces, shall we say, or navies. 40 this year. So I left when I was 43. I'm now almost 50. So this dude is where I was wrapped up in the middle of my, kind of say destructive behaviors, guys, whatever it was, flying jets at Valley. The culture has absolutely driven my alcoholism, and I would really like to quit or at least significantly reduce. This is a great message you're sharing. I think a lot of us are seeing it or using it to self-medicate for some really unique life circumstances. Please keep sharing the real stuff. It is super helpful. I'm still struggling myself. My current posting is pretty lonely. Would love to feel I can lean on someone. I'm scrolling backwards and forward here. Cheers, buddy. If you use my message on YouTube, please use another name. I'm sure you understand how small the aviation world is. Not asking for advice. People don't really want advice. Notice how in the email he used the term alcoholic as well, alcoholism. And again, I'll just be very careful about using that. It can really stop you. You can really feel like a failure as opposed to a product of an environment. The thing about flying, especially in the military, one of the things that really kind of got me, and I remember saying to my boss a while ago when I was flying, was what are we doing here, boss? Like, why are we teaching these students? Like, what is the output? I remember Johnny Ives at Apple making iPhones and thinking, Johnny Ives has made an iPhone. Like I said to my boss, I said, he's made an iPhone. Like he can always say, look what I've made. I've made an iPhone. Look, this is an Android, but you know what I mean? I made this phone. It's my design and everything. What are we doing? And my boss said, well, you're making fighter pilots. And I just thought, yeah, I get that. I get that. That didn't really resonate with me in a way that I felt it probably should have done. Now I'm out of the Air Force and looking back in to my flying training that I did. I don't look back at it. I look back at it in a kind of proud way. But I also recognize the fact that I was always going to be drinking and wrapped up in that, especially if you're lonely, especially if you're, I mean, where I flew at RAF Valley, there's not much going on. There's nowhere you can really go. Chester was pretty much the nearest town. I know Bangor is the nearest, but Chester was, it was an hour and a half drive away. My wife and I used to go to Chester on a weekend for a cup of tea and then drive back. It would take us an hour and a half each way. There's no real escape. It's, there's not many trees. There's not much life going on. Angusie's lovely in the summer, although it's very wet. But it's very windy. It's just a very lonely place. And in the evening, I come home and I crack a beer. And my dad used to do the exact same thing. He was a police officer. Come home, crack a beer. You know how it is. So I guess that was a learned behavior from me. And I think what we're seeing here from this guy that's written in, this instructor, is he kind of feels the same way. And if we just concentrate on some language here that is used, I think when he says, I'm inspired by your quitting alcohol journey, yeah, it's never going to end, guys. That's why I've got the bar, got the weights. It keeps me out there. I mean, I want to drink now. 15 months clear, I still want to drink, you know what I mean? Sometimes I drive to the shops where I used to drive to get alcohol, and then I'll buy something random, like, I don't know, some crisps for the wife or whatever, and, you know, I'll buy something that I don't really need. This guy's 40. As he says, the culture has absolutely driven my alcoholism. I don't think he's wrong there, and I don't think he's also being a victim. He's not being a victim at all. I would say the same thing. There's nothing better than finishing flying of a day, or the air combat, whatever you might be doing, hitting the bar and discussing it. And it's great. It was a great life, 110%. I don't regret it. I can't drink now ever again. But yeah, it was a brilliant life to go to the bar with your mates and get a smash on. Unfortunately, has detrimental effect. Yeah. He's saying that he'd like to quit or significantly reduce. And I would say, yeah, give that a go. I did the whole, I only drink on weekends. I did the whole, you know, a weekend leads to a Monday night, and then Monday leads to a Tuesday night. And before you know it, you may as well drink on Wednesday because it's halfway through the week. And then you do it next week. I've been there, guys. You know, I've been there. I'm not saying don't do it. Again, I won't drink my favorite drink. I'll drink something. I've done that, and it hasn't worked for me. I'm not saying it won't work for you. I just feel that there's more of life out there than you realize. When you stop drinking, you'll see it. It will take you a while. So he thinks it's positive. I do give back. Self-medication is some really interesting thing that he talks about here. I'm self-medicating for some unique life circumstances. Yeah, it's because you're strapped to a fucking aeroplane, mate, or a helicopter. It's not natural. One thing I look back on now, I feel the body keeps a score. I think it was a book about that. When I strapped into jets, I wasn't conscious of it at all, what it was doing to my body. In the mind, fine, I know what I'm doing. My head rolls, I can move the fingers around, everything's cool in the game. But when you look back on that, you strap yourself to this rocket ship and you put yourself very low over the ground, and you've got to type the right things in all the time. Or you've got to fly the correct parameters. I do it in my school now. I teach the guys to do it. it's not natural, it's not normal, it's not what we would have done ever in the history of us being humans. Of course, we're going to fall back on something. And of course, we fall back on alcohol, bad relationships. We might fall back on, there's a whole world of stuff we can fall back on, drugs, anything like that. It's just the way it is, guys. So I'm not giving advice here to the dude, but I'm just saying, look, from one dude to another dude, and I'm not being weird in this, but you know, I can understand it. To the regiment guy and to the flying instructor, I understand it. I was there, and all I'm saying to you is, you know, it will come to you. There will be a realization that there is another way. And if I can talk about it, I get so much hate for these videos. I get told, it's funny, I get told like, what am I? I'm on a crusade. I'm not on a crusade. I'm genuinely not. I still go to the pub now. It's difficult sometimes, but I have a couple of, you know, non-alcoholic beers and come home again. I don't like doing that very much. But I'm not on a crusade. I don't care if anyone else stops drinking at all. But I do care that people that are writing to me with problems. I do care that I'm able to respond to them in some kind of way without being a dick. I'm not saying it's any different when you stop. No, I am saying it's different. I'm not saying it's any better. That's what I'm saying. I wouldn't say it was better. You get these people going, oh, it's amazing, I've stopped drinking. I understand that, mate, but it's not amazing for me. I miss a lot about the Air Force. I miss a lot about that control element. I miss a lot about everything wrapped up in it. For me, the Air Force was the drinking. It was the flying. It was, you know, the education, the high-level academics, all wrapped up in one. You took any one of those away and it wouldn't have been the same. So I don't regret anything. I'm not a victim. It worked out like this for me. I would use this. I'm not giving advice, but if I could just say one thing to the regiment dude and one thing to the instructor out there in Oz, and I don't know what you're flying, mate, you know what I mean? But use this as a step in your journey. What an interesting thing, right? So, ex-regiment guy with an alcohol problem. That's a challenge. You know, flying instructor with an alcohol problem. Yeah, it's a challenge. What a great part of your life story. What are you going to do about it? You don't have to stop. You know, you can, or you don't have to, but I mean, fuck. You know, one of the things I remember thinking was, how far can this be pushed? I remember that with the instructors I used to have on 19 Squadron, that would be hammered in the bar when I was a student, and they'd still be there in the morning, getting into the jets, you know, like, you know, just putting the oxygen on in the back seat. They'd be like, fuck, I was messed up last night. I thought that's how you had to be. Like, party hard, fly hard. That was how it was. You know, I was a naval officer for 5 years. That's how it was. That's how it was. And it's not like that now. Is my life better? No, not really. It is in many ways, but it's not in other ways. I find it very difficult to relax. Sleep is a problem for me. It's not about me. Hopefully I've just given you something, mate. I just want to kind of say to both of you guys, you know, I feel it. I feel you. I am sympathetic and I have been there. And if I can keep adding something in these videos, then I will. But look, hey, if it was easy, everyone would fucking do it, wouldn't they? It takes a certain courage. It takes a certain internalization, spirituality, whatever you want to call it. Rack up some weights up on the big bar here. Square yourself away. You know, be that next chapter to your story. Yeah, I used to fly airplanes and I was dependent on alcohol when I did it. And now I do something else. You know, whatever that thing is that you want to be doing. That's how it is. It only ends one way, by the way. If we're going to fuck around with this shit and you want to get truthful, it ends up with you waking up with pains in your body somewhere. You're seeing a doctor. Maybe your marriage gets fucked up. That normally happens. Maybe you lose a job. That normally happens. You lose your money. That normally happens. You think about suicide a lot. This place is somewhere I thought about suicide a lot. You're over there, there's some ropes. Over here, there isn't. But in that side, there's some ropes. And those ropes were there. Because when I was low when I left the military and I was drinking and shit and I felt suicidal, guys. I talked about it already. Those ropes are still there. I bought those ropes especially, you know what I mean? Did all the knots and everything, you know what I mean? These beams here. So I'm familiar with it, you know what I mean? I'm not emotional about it now. It's part of my journey. So have a think about that. I really appreciate it, guys. If anything in this has helped, then whack it in the comments. I'm not embarrassed about these videos, but you know, this isn't what my channel is about. My channel is about, you know, flying and aviation, a bit of culture, and really teaching my students in my school. I've got 200 students in my school. If you want to join the school and learn to fly airplanes and a pretty cool setting, by all means do that. There's a link somewhere in the description somewhere, I guess. But I hope that's helped. Maybe not. Hey, let me know. I appreciate it, guys. Tim Davies, Fast Jet Performance.